Hey, this is David Pere with the Military Millionaire Community. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to and need to be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my friend, Scott Ferguson.
Time to Shine Today podcast squad. Welcome to episode 108. That's 108. And today I get to bring on my leatherneck friend, David Pere from Military to Millionaire. It's a fantastic program. I've had a chance to test drive it, and I follow him everywhere he is on social. Any email I get to him, I read every word because they're just chock full of knowledge nuggets to help you level up your real estate investing life. You know, David is he's a Marine, and he really has his heart set on helping military veterans, either active or retired, really level up through real estate investing. He has an awesome journey, awesome backstory, which we dig into, and he reminds you to network and educate yourself, but always take action. So without further ado, here's my really good friend, David Pere, from the company Military to Millionaire. Hey, time to shine today, Varsity Squad. It's Scott Ferguson, and I got my leatherneck friend from the West Left Coast, my boy David Pere, like hip hip hooray, but pronounced Pere. He's a fired up Marine that likes to fire up other veterans. He's got a website called From Military to Millionaire.com. That'll be in the show notes. You have to check it out. I'm a veteran, as a lot of my listeners know. Did a bunch of tours, did a bunch of deployments, did the deed. And David, and I never even thought of starting a podcast or starting to help others level up. I was just too worried about getting out and kind of going into the civilian world. But David's here leveling up and helping other people that are in the military, even not in the military, level up their life a lot through real estate investing. David, like I said, is an active duty Marine who's dedicated his free time to helping service members and veterans learn how to build wealth through real estate, investing, entrepreneurship, and personal finance. And his resume speaks for itself. He's a legit guy. And David, if you can come on and introduce yourself to the Time to Shine Today Varsity Squad. But first, what emoji do you use the most?
Shaka.
Shaka emoji. Love it. You love it. Yep. What's your favorite color, brother?
Blue.
Why is that?
I on the colors chart for the, like, when they talk like marketing, they say that blue is the color of like trust, like building trust with a brand.
Right.
So I don't know why I originally chose blue, but I would like to think that since transparency and trust and stuff is kind of core values, that it just kind of correlated naturally. I don't know if I'm going to tell you that that's why I chose it, but I'm sure when I was a kid, I was just like, everybody likes red. Fuck them, blue.
Blue. No, red. I could go red every once in a while from a personality standpoint, but I'm a blue guy. I mean, I got the Atlantic Ocean over here, and I get to go out to it every day now that the beach Nazis are off there, and they're allowing us to go out to the water. So blue is kind of my jam too. So let's get to the origins of David. You know, I'm really want to dig in. You and I have had some conversations off air, but let's get into the origins of you starting out, getting in the Marines, and that aha moment that was like, hey man, I'm going to start helping other people level up.
Well, it started with a whole bunch of bad decisions. I joined the Marine Corps in 2008, and, you know, I got to do some of the fun stuff. I got to go to Afghanistan, and I blew. I mean, the first 4 years I had like nothing to show. I traveled the world. I lived my life. I had a great freaking time, did all the tattoos and Harley Davidson and road trips and lived the like Marine Corps life. But in like 2015, I was hanging out and I just realized like I had nothing financially to show for, you know, the last 7 years of being in the military.
Right.
I had a nice car. I had a nice bike. I had tattoos. I had drunk a lot of alcohol. I had some great memories, but there was just nothing. I mean, my 401k was minuscule because I didn't do anything smart with it. And the epiphany came, a buddy of mine was trying to get me, ironically, into Amway to do some multi-level marketing stuff.
Sure.
And which is fine. But he handed me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I just kind of joked and was like, dude, I'm a Marine. Like, we don't read books. Come on now.
The purple books, right?
Yeah. The purple. It's actually behind me on my shelf back there.
I see it back there. Like, yeah.
Yeah, so I told him I don't want to read that book, and he literally pulled it as a CD out of his pocket and was like, well, here, you drive a lot as a recruiter. Put this in your car and listen to it. And I was like, all right, fine. Like, you called my bluff. I'll listen to it. Are you happy? Holy shit, man, changed my life. I mean, I listened to that book, and then it was like another book. I downloaded Audible, and it was like book. And within 3 months, I bought a house, and because I was moving out of my apartment at that time, my Harley got totaled. It was like all these things just came together. I had money to buy a house, and bought a house, it was a duplex. I lived in one half and I rented the other half. And I just had this epiphany where I'd gone from spending $550 a month to live in someone else's apartment to owning a building that cost me $615 a month, but the other person was paying me $500. And I was like, oh my gosh, what have I been doing my whole life? So I just kept buying some real estate. My wife had a single family. I bought a 10-unit apartment and so on and so forth. And in 2000, it would have been like December 2017, January 2018. I was talking to a well-known buddy of mine, a real estate investor, and I was just, whatever. I was like, man, yeah, this is cool, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, dude, why don't you just start a blog? Like, why don't you, like, I had started writing for myself because it's therapeutic. I was kind of documenting stuff, like journaling about stuff from deployment and whatever, but I had no idea what to write about. It was hidden. I wasn't putting anything online. And my buddy was like, dude, just start writing about what you're doing in real estate. People will eat that up.
Right.
And man, it just started to grow, and
That's
it
awesome.
just kept growing. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's right. And then it kind of just morphed from there.
Well, that's beautiful that someone actually handed you Kiyosaki's book and you actually took action on it, which is a big thing. And now that you have a payment of $615, but someone else is making that payment, it's like nice because you don't have that lower back pain of having to reach into the wallet to pay that note every month, right? Kind of gets rid of that lower back pain, which is awesome. No, that's awesome. So did you have a mentor that kind of was there for you, or were your mentors like dead people reading books that they wrote, or like how did it work for you, bro?
I would say I had a lot of mentors, and the vast majority of them were authors.
Okay.
And I think that was kind of what I did was, as I read books, I started to realize what I didn't know. And so anytime I was reading a book and I didn't understand something, I would just go to good old gunny Google and I would type it in, and this website, Bigger Pockets, kept popping up.
Yeah.
So eventually I signed up for, I signed up for Bigger Pockets, and I could find answers to almost, you still got to vet and make sure that people sound like they know what they're talking about, but you can find answers to almost everything on Bigger Pockets. And I just started digging around on there, listening to podcasts. It just kind of grew from there. Between books, podcasts, and YouTube University, I was able to find majority of what I needed to know. And then I would go out and like local real estate investor associations and just meet up with people who were already doing it and either pick their brain or, at one point I found a deal in Hawaii that would work as a house flip.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically like gave it to my buddy and was like, let me be a part of this. Just teach me.
Right.
And, rather than and he made a pretty decent chunk of change off it. And I got a ton of knowledge, and so just getting around those people.
He didn't cut you in at all?
I got a piece, but not much. But I waived. So he usually gave it was like a $10,000 finder's fee.
Nice.
I was like, give me 2. Let me be a part of the deal. I don't want anything else.
And you
so
wanted to learn and expunge that knowledge, right?
Yeah, and he made equity on the backside, but I don't care. That's it pays dividends long run, right?
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So were you married at the time that you bought your first property? Or your investment property?
We were engaged.
You're engaged. Okay. So got to ask you, what was her thoughts or the rest of your family's thoughts about, you're getting a stable income. It's enough to keep food on the table, lights turned on. What was the family's thoughts and what did they think about your choices as you started to rise in the prosperity ranks? And not just with money, but with mindset, relationships, stuff like that. What was your parents and your fiance's thoughts at the time?
That's a good question. It's funny because we had a huge fight about money this week. So it's not a one-stop shop.
No.
People think differently, right? Like I'm a very I don't have much of a risk aversion. I'm a very much I think the best word for it is fuck it. And I'm the build the parachute on the way down guy. And my wife is not. She is very debt averse, risk averse, and so I kind of had to back off on some investments that I was going to make, and just kind of focus on paying down debt a little bit to keep her happy, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I would just rather build the debt, build the portfolio, and let it pay itself off over time. But so there's been some rough patches there. The cool thing with real estate though is I tried a lot of stuff, right? Like I did some Amway. I had tried some random entrepreneur type things, and there was always all this negative feedback in the universe about it.
Right.
And I remember when I started talking about buying a house, like there was a lot of like cautionary tales but there was nobody in my like sphere of people that I actually cared about who told me it was a bad idea. They were all like, well, yeah, you might want to watch out for this, but that sounds great. And so I was just like, oh, well, if this is the first like crazy idea I've had that everybody seems to approve of, well, I better go for it while I can.
Do it. Right.
So pulled that trigger.
You have a coaching group that you have, and plus you have you're a gunny, or are you a staff?
Staff sergeant for now. I'm in zone for gunny this year, so fingers crossed.
So staff sergeant is like 3 levels below as high as you can pretty much go on the enlisted side, right? Around there. Yeah. So what do you think makes a great leader?
Ooh. A lot of things that I don't know people would agree with me on in the military. For starters, I don't think running makes a great leader, but there's this mentality in the military that if you run fast, you must be a great leader.
Got it.
Super scary.
Remember that.
And I say that from somebody who right now doesn't run fast, but I have been an athlete for a long time. I just had injuries, getting back there. So I think the first thing is trust. The Marine Corps sometimes, I don't want to say has a problem with this, but in the military, there's a lot of, inspect what you expect, micromanage type. Like it gets kind of curmuddled sometimes.
Right.
And I'm a very firm believer of the idea of like, hey, look, there's a General Patton quote that I actually have on my email. And it basically says, don't tell people how to do things, tell them what to do and let them surprise you with the results. And I'm very much a like, hey, here's what needs to happen. Let me know if you have questions.
Right.
And I think that's great because every time I have a leader who trusts me to do things, I will go above and beyond to accomplish whatever that person wants me to do.
So you're saying don't really teach them what to do. Tell them what to do and let them kind of do it. And if they do fall on their face, you can at least pick them up and say, hey, this is got
Absolutely.
it. Got it.
I will always trust a person to do the right thing. And then if they aren't able to, make it work, then I'll step in and help. But rather than some people start off from the idea of not trusting and just saying, hey, I need to help you along the way, hold your hand. I'd rather let them learn on their own.
I hear you. I'm the same way. It's like I have people that kind of work for me. They come to me and they say, well, what should I do here? I'm like, that with my mentors, that was a lightning rod. They're like, you give me your fucking, what you're thinking, and then I'll tell you if it's right or wrong, because they wanted me to kind of learn as I went along. And you come to me with a recommendation, I'll tell you if it's wrong or not. Because I remember my mentors when I started investing in real estate, they were like, well, what should I do? Well, what do you think, dummy?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that. But I understand with you building from military to millionaire, who is like, if I was out talking to somebody, because we're allowed to do that here in South Florida. I know on the left coast there, you guys aren't quite, but if I'm out pressing flesh, meeting people, if someone was talking, what would a key word or a phrase that they might use that I would think that they'd be a great contact, connection, referral for from military to millionaire?
A key word.
I'm talking because I'm a listener, man. When I go out networking, I never even talk about myself ever. Unless they ask me. I'd like to get out of people and see who I can connect them with. Because at Time to Shine today, I know I sound like a broken record to my listeners, but we're all about, not having anyone feel like they have no one. You know what I'm saying? We want to make sure that they are put together with the correct person. So if I'm listening, who do you think would be a great referral for you?
In a perfect world, I want to reach the 18 to 25 young service member before they get into financial trouble. The reality is that nobody goes looking for advice on finances until after they seem to have hit a bad spot.
Gotcha.
So I would probably say it would be someone griping about how they haven't gotten their next paycheck yet, so they can't do, because that seems to be a common thing in the military. You go blow all your paycheck on food, booze, car, whatever, and then you're like, oh, thank God it's a payday weekend. So I would say if that was the key phrase, is talking about a payday weekend like it's the greatest thing in the world, that probably means that service member needs to yeah, sure, I still have payday weekends, but I don't care if it's a payday weekend or not. It doesn't freaking matter to me.
Right.
I get paid, cool, but money's already spent, spoken for, budgeted, whatever. But Yeah,
No,
there's some serious issues with that.
That's a great point, David. Like I practiced real estate for 16 years in the Detroit area as a real estate agent. But my dad was kind of like the president of the union, auto workers union, for quite a few years. And he got me really ingrained with a lot of the people that worked on the line and stuff at General Motors, Ford and stuff. And I became friends with them. And then a lot of my buddies that I went to high school with, because, Detroit's Motor City, they would all go work at the plants and stuff. So I always made sure that the day that I hung out with them was every Thursday, because that was payday. They were in a good mood, right? They were ready to spend money, and I'd go and buy the whole round of, a whole bar around, and then we would talk and be like, "Oh man, I'm looking to buy, I'm looking to sell." So I made sure I strategically did that. But with you, I think that's a great point. That when people they're getting that paycheck, they're not allocating it to, like they say, pay yourself first by investing in themselves. And that's what you guys do phenomenally From Military to Millionaire. And that's why, I had to get you on this podcast, because there are some listeners out there that are veterans, or they know veterans that are looking to make that transition possibly in the next few years. And it'd be great for them to get connected with you. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, absolutely. We would love to help anyone and everyone.
Awesome. I love that. So, David, let's hook up with Marty McFly. Let's get in our DeLorean. That's not too far in front of your time, is it? You know who that is, right?
Oh, no, I'm all for Back to the Future.
Okay, love it. All right, so let's get in that DeLorean. Let's go back to the 22-year-old David Pere. What kind of knowledge nuggets with what you know now are you dropping on David?
The first thing would be set up an allotment to an account that I don't touch, whether that's increasing my thrift savings plan 401k allotment, or simply having a savings account somewhere that I don't have a card to and I don't blow the money. I would just focus on saving more of my income, because I blew money because I had it. Had I only gotten $1,000 a week or a month in my paycheck, I would have spent $1,000 a month. But I was getting more than that, and so I spent more than that. And so I think the first thing would be just keep some of the money out of sight and just let it grow.
Does the military have something set up for you guys to do that now, or?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
So the thrift savings plan is the first one I tell everyone, is like absolutely invest in your TSP, especially if you're new in the military and you're on the new retirement system, because they will match 5%. You'll never get a better return than having the government give you 100% return for the first 5% of your paycheck you invest.
Wow.
You can lose half your money and still have not lost a penny. It's pretty solid.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah. So I would tell myself I could have double the amount of money I have in there right now if I'd been smart with that fund when I was younger. And just putting money out of sight. I mean, compound interest is incredible. So if I had known to do that when I was younger, I would be doing much
jumping all over it.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you, is there, with you being a Marine and actually wanting to level up other people's lives while you're leveling up your life, what do you think is how do I say this? The thing that people maybe misunderstand about David the most?
Well, aside from the fact that I talk too much, and they might not think I care about them. No.
Oh, that's actually a great point, man. I mean, you're trying to help them so much that they think that maybe you are looking to level yourself up before them, but really you're wanting to help people. You're seeing people, and that's one reason why I reached out to you, because you're actually doing that. So I think that that's probably straight and true, because Marines are hard asses. They're team players. They're in there. And it's all about that. And then when you kind of step out of that, people might be like, what are you trying to do? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I see that. And it's not a bad thing, because you guys have a family and you guys are the baddest asses on the planet. You guys get it done. But yeah, so
we have some fun.
Yeah, hell yeah, you guys do. And the most fun I had when I was over at Gator Gardens was with the Leathernecks, the Marines, man. So while you're working with somebody and they first come into From Military to Millionaire, it's always a tongue twister for me. Bro.
Yeah.
So is there any question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
I think I just wish people would be more honest. There's always a facade, and it's human nature, right? Nobody wants to talk about their struggles, but it's always like, hey, where do I find? I don't have money for this or whatever. But it's never like, man, I don't have money saved up to invest. Can you help me?
Right.
Or that's like how people say it. It's never like, man, I have a huge expense problem and I blow money on stupid shit. Can you help me with that? It's always like, oh man, I don't get paid enough. And so I just kind of wish people would come to me with more of I guess the biggest question I would say people should be asking themselves is, where does my money go?
Right.
Because it's usually not the income that's your problem. It's how much you spend.
Sure. There's a lot of imposter syndrome going on out there where they act like they have this. They'll go and spend an entire 2 weeks on a car in the military that they make on a car, and then they wonder why they're, cash poor. So no, that's great that they should come in, be honest, say this is my situation. Then you can tackle it, no matter if they've made kind of not so great decisions. You can still correct them, especially if you're catching them in the 18 to 25-year-old range that you're looking for.
Oh yeah.
All
the mistakes in the world.
Let me ask you, we talk at Time to Shine today a lot about our dash. Our dash is that little thing between our life date and death date. How do you want your dash to be remembered, David? Like, your epitaph, if you will. Like, how do you want that to be remembered?
And you got some really good questions. I like this.
Time to shine, baby.
I know. I'm like, oh man. It's funny because I actually have a time capsule over there where I wrote some of that stuff down for myself for like 15 years down the road. I'm trying to remember what I put in there. I would just want to be known as like a transparent resource. I think a lot of people get sucked into the sales and scams and money making side of the coaching world, which is great, right? There's plenty of money to be made in that sphere. But like, I'm not trying to be the guy who made $6 million from selling a course. I'm trying to be the guy who helped 60,000 or 10,000 or whatever people buy a house that actually made money. And build wealth.
I love that, bro. It's like I have a goal to have 100 people become millionaires. Through Time to Shine today, because the people that listen know, and other people that have tuned in, we teach people at Time to Shine today. When you join us, we teach how to make your first dollar online, and then when you level up from that, then we're going to put you with people like David that's going to teach you how to level up more. And with real estate investing, I mean, I know if I hand somebody off to David and he makes them a millionaire, it makes me immortal because they started here. And it goes down. So that's awesome. That is that's what I wanted to hear about your dash, brother. That's phenomenal. And so we're going to, as we wind stuff down a little bit, I have my leveling up lightning round. You and I could sit and bullshit 15, 20 minutes on each one of these topics. Okay. But I need 5 seconds. First thing tops your head. No why it is. Just say it. You ready, brother?
Ready.
All right, here we go. What's the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Take action on what you learn.
Love it. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
I wake up at 3:55 every morning.
What? Nice. I think I'm a badass at 5:30. All right. So not the flavor of the month, not the book that you're reading right now. What is the go-to book that if someone's going to come to you and say, David, man, I want to be you, or I want to aspire to fire up, what's that book you're handing to them?
Either Rich Dad Poor Dad, if they haven't read it, or 4 Hour Workweek.
There you go. Timmy Ferriss. He's right there in your neighborhood too.
Yep.
Awesome. So if you could be one age for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Fuck today.
There you go. How old are you? I never even asked that.
I just turned 30.
Nice. Yeah, that's beautiful. I wish I was 30. That's 18
I'm waiting
years
on my
ago
midlife crisis. It's supposed to happen.
So what's your favorite charity and organization you like to support?
I really like Operation Underground Railroad.
What's that?
Operation Underground Railroad. Yeah, OUR is it's basically a bunch of teams guys who go out of the country and stop sex traffickers. So like it's a whole bunch of SEALs, berets, whatever, and they will like go to another country, work with their local law enforcement
infrastructure there.
They'll set up sting missions. So they basically still play teams games, and they'll like go and find pretend they want to hire girls for sex trade, whatever, and then they'll just swarm in and bust everybody. It's freaking awesome. I'm like, I want to be a part of your charity. Let me give me a gun. Let me go.
All right, last question. What is the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
Oh, I'm torn, but I'm a hair bands guy, so I'm saying 80s.
Yeah, big hair, don't care.
Yeah,
Love it, bro. Love it, man. David, how can we find you, brother?
From militarytomillionaire.com, or the same thing on every social platform.
Gotcha. Yeah, and folks, everything will be in the show notes. You can just click on anything. I'm going to have everything from David right down below here. So, David, leave us with one last knowledge nugget that you want the Time to Shine Today Varsity Squad to walk away with, internalize, and put into action.
The thing that I've been saying for a while, and it still holds true, is the 3 steps to learn everything: learn, network, and take action. Learn, read books, podcasts, whatever on that niche. Get around people who are already doing it. Network with them, and not just say, "Hey, will you be my mentor?" But like build relationships with people, and then take action. Don't let the what ifs stop you, because you will learn more while you're doing it, whether it works out or not, than you would ever learn from books.
Gotcha. I love that, man. I love that. And one thing I like also is if you're getting up at 3:15 every morning?
3:55.
3:55. So that's still not that bad. We're getting up about the same time.
Yeah.
Because I'm 3 hours ahead of you.
Touché.
I love it. Hey, squad, listen, man, we just had some serious knowledge nuggets dropped on us by my good friend, David Pere. You know, if you're a good leader, you got to trust. You got to get the trust from the people that are below you, and you got to know what the hell you're talking about. You know, when you're working with people, tell them what to do, let them go do it, and then have them come back and report to you. He pulled that from Patton, but it's the truth. And I do that, and I work with that at all times. And listen, if you're 18 to 25 and a service member, or maybe even not a service member, I'm sure David will let you slip through the cracks. If you're interested, go to FromMilitaryToMillionaire.com and check him out. You know, he's fantastic. He knows his stuff. He had the balls to go out and do something and got out of his comfort zone, took action, blasted through the fear. You know, make sure that you're honest with yourself. If you're in a shitty situation, bring it to somebody like me or David, and we're going to put you with the right people. And make sure that you're leveling up at all times. Be transparent. Don't lie. Don't be an imposter. And most of all, make sure you learn, network, and take action. And David is the epitome of that. He is humble yet hungry. He's always leveling up his health. He's leveling up his wealth. And he's always shining bright, just like us here at Time to Shine. David, thank you so much for coming on, brother. I'm privileged. I'm happy that you're here, and you're part of our squad now, so you can't go anywhere, brother.
Thanks, Scott. This has been a lot of fun.
Awesome, brother. Take care.
You too.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.